So Wikileaks is both from a corporate point of view and politically extremely interesting. And of course, again, Wikileaks needs competition. The more different Wikileakses we have that compete with each other, the better off we are.
You spoke about the pirates, like the movements like Wikileaks and Pirate Bay. Are those the new heroes, or are those the new evil?
They're both. They're not heroes. I mean, they're the new holders of power. They know exactly how to use the internet to their own advantage. And if you can use the internet to your own advantage, you will have power. Those are the people who have the power over the world in 50 years' time.
Is power evil, like Google or an Apple? Is it evil? Are those evil?
Power is always evil because power is always power over somebody else. And in my theory, we have a netocratic class who rule the internet, and we have a consumptarian class who basically porn surf and, you know, answer the occasional email who nobody's really talking with.
You wrote a book about netocracy. Netocracy. What is it? Could you define it?
The netocrats are the winners in the game of the internet. They are the guys who hold the power on the internet because they can use it successfully. They're social monsters who use new technology to their own advantage.
Are the pirates like Pirate Bay and Wikileaks, are they rebuilding the world or just changing the world?
It's a very, very different world. The internet has taken over the world already. And it's created both Facebook, Google, and Al-Qaeda. So it's both for good and bad. It's just a very, very different world from the industrial world we lived in 30 years ago.
But does it have too much disadvantages, the internet revolution, or is it really changing the world in a good way?
It depends on who you are. If you're a factory owner, it's terrible for you. If you're a social master on Facebook, it's great for you. It depends on where you're located on the map. Any big revolution in history has always created both winners and losers, and the internet does exactly the same thing.
This is 2011. Could you be a musician considering this new revolution? How would you spread or produce your music, for example?
I work with a huge project right now called Gravitonas. And Gravitonas is about killing the idea of the solitary musician as an artist, and instead make music an interactive activity like everything else in society today. So it's a constant relationship between the front figures of Gravitonas, it's me and Andrea Zern, other producers, other artists, other songwriters, and also our own fans, who also contribute creatively to the whole project. And they're doing it all together.
Is it like crowdsourcing and co-creation?
Yes, that's a good word. It's crowdsourcing as a creative motor. And it's called, you can find it at gravitonas.net. Look into it. It's a very, very interesting project. We've been signed to Universal Music, the world's biggest record company, not because they expect to make a profit from Gravitonas, but because they find the model so fascinating and interesting, because this is a look into the future of music.
Would it be an army of pirates instead of lovers?
I'm not very nostalgic. Army of Lovers was fun at the time, and I'm glad Lady Gaga had something to copy so she could make a career. But I always want to be ahead of things, and as an artist, I like to be a creative and to be ahead of things. And I always think, what will people think of this in 15, 20 years' time when I do something, rather than what will they think of it in 14 days? Because I think to get the right, really interesting artistic perspective on something, you should think ahead. What will they think in 15 years' time? That's when you get it right.
How come your creative vision and movements like Spotify and Pirate Bay they come from Sweden? What's up with Sweden?
Swedes love technology and they love innovation, they love entrepreneurship, and I think Spotify was also made as a kind of a creative response to the Pirate Bay. And why Spotify became so incredibly successful was, instead of the record companies who were fighting Pirate Bay, Spotify decided, we're not going to fight them at all, we're going to create something even better. And that's exactly why Spotify is so beautiful.
So they will change the world and not the Americans?
Spotify is already now worth more money than all the world's record companies combined. Doesn't that say it all?
Not Facebook?
Well, Facebook is not a record company. You can't compare them. It's not a music company. But Spotify is the world's biggest pure music company today.
You spoke about Facebook. It's an evil factor in the internet revolution?
No, Google.
Google is?
Well, Facebook is evil to me because they need competition. We need alternatives to Facebook. It's really scary that they're more or less creating a monopoly for their specific kind of social media. I said during the panel that when Google said they were "don't be evil," they meant exactly that they are evil, otherwise they wouldn't have to say it.
Why is Google evil?
They're evil like all corporations are evil. They steal information from all of us who use it, and then they repackage that information, make money from it, and gain power. And that's what people do. And people have always done that throughout history. The great thing about Sergey and Larry, who started Google, is that they're pure Nietzscheans and they've always been honest about it. I don't mind the fact that Google are evil. And I like them as long as they're honest. And right now they're more honest than Apple. So if I have to choose between Google or Apple, I go with Google.
Is Apple evil? Is Microsoft evil? Is Nike evil?
Apple have gone completely evil and boring. They now...
You changed from Apple to Android.
I changed from iPhone to Android because I started hating my iPhone when I realized that Apple were actually stealing 30% from every app maker in the world when they uploaded their apps to Apple, which I think is a ridiculous, it's a grotesque overvaluation of themselves. So Apple need competition, now they have competition with the Androids, then why stay with the iPhone?
So why is Android not evil?
Android is less evil because Google are smart. They take a 10% cut from apps instead of 30%, and it's an open platform, which means that all technology makers can use it, and that's much better than locking people in and keeping them locked up.
Okay, final question. What are your new books about?
There are 3 books. They're all coming out in English this summer. It's called the Theorieën trilogy. One is called the Netocracy, which is Netocracy in a new version. It's the book on technology. The second book is called The Global Empire. It's the book on our new worldview, which is the result of the new technology. And the third book is called The Body Machines, and that's the book on the new idea what it means to be a human being in the new internet world, which is very different from 30 years ago. So all these 3 books come out. They're called the Theorieën trilogy, and they're going to be available on Amazon everywhere in the world this summer.
What is your goal? What is what you really want to do with your life when you grow up?
Be evil and have fun.
Thank you, Alexander.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, my parents gave me that name, so...
What do you have? Yeah. What do you have in Bart?
Bart is actually a Dutch name.
It's a Dutch...
Bart.
Bart.
Beard.
Beard.
Yeah, B-A-A-R-D. And my grandparents came to Sweden and they skipped one of the A's because it didn't make any sense to the Swedes, and that became Bard.
Your first song or first release was called Bird as well? Or?
Bard was a band I did in the early 1980s, my first artistic project. It was me and 2 striptease dancers doing synth punk together.